you know what? You should just keep your focus on the internal combustion engine part of your market. It's much more profitable. And they also said they are intent on producing electric vehicles profitably. That's their primary focus. Well, I've just told you what Tesla's doing. It's going to be impossible for them to do that. And so effectively, the more short-term oriented shareholders among Ford's shareholder base will be telling them, stop. And we think, of course, that's absolutely the wrong decision. They have no choice but to continue to move in this direction and in the autonomous direction. Otherwise, they will go out of business.
Discover ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood's bold vision for the automotive world, where electric vehicles reign supreme. Don't miss this insight from a top Tesla investor.
EV sales jumping in 2022 compared to the years prior. The International Energy Agency releasing a fresh report on global EV sales and an outlook for the industry. Here with the newest numbers is Yahoo Finance senior autos reporter, Pras Subramanian. What are we learning, my friend?
Yeah, so the IEA is sort of combining here battery EVs and plug-in hybrids together as electric cars, they're calling them. So they're going to see that they're saying that sales will jump 35% in 2023. Now, last year we sold globally 10 million. The industry sold 10 million globally. They're seeing 14 million units sold in 2023, and market share jumping from 14% to 18% globally for these electric cars. So one little nugget here is China still dominates that EV market. 60% of all electric car sales happened there last year. More than half of all electric cars in the world are in China. So a long way to go for the US and Europe to catch up, but it seems the trend is in the right direction there for electric cars.
Does certainly seem like the trend is in the right direction. So you mentioned some of the targets here, what's expected in terms of sales growth for 2023. What about looking further out, 2024, 2025? How quickly are we expecting some of that adoption of EVs?
So for 2030, the IEA sees EV share rising to 35% by the end of the decade. Furthermore, the US is going to hit 20% by the end of the decade, and Europe will be 25%. China, of course, will be at 40%. They're still going to maintain that lead. Now, it's kind of interesting because the Biden administration wants to have half of all cars sold by 2030 to be zero emission cars, which means the US is a long way to go. In addition to the fact that Europe wants to go fully zero carbon emissions by 2035, there's a huge gap there to kind of bridge between the IEA's prediction and what the European legislators want. So there's a lot of sort of uncertainty as to where that could be by the time 2030 and 2035 hit.
The switch to electric cars is happening very fast, and a lot of people, as well as countries, are beginning to see the benefits of using clean energy. For instance, countries like Australia have enforced policies to promote the sale and use of electric cars. Electric vehicle sales have increased in every region of the world. As production increased, oil prices rose, and targeted policies aim to support the use of these vehicles. However, while the sale of EVs continues to grow, some say that this won't be for long. Have electric vehicles come to stay, or will they go eventually extinct? Well, find out what analysts have predicted for the future of EVs and what it could look like. Hey guys, and welcome back to Tesla Tomorrow. The overwhelming majority of electric car sales to date are mainly concentrated in three markets: China, Europe, and the United States. China is the frontrunner, with 60% of global electric car sales taking place in 2022. Europe and the United States, the second and third largest markets, both saw strong growth, with sales increasing 15% and 55% respectively in 2022. Global sales of electric cars increased by around 60% last year, surpassing 10 million for the first time, even though car sales were soft overall. As a result, 1 in every 7 passenger cars bought globally in 2022 was an EV, according to a recent report by the International Energy Agency. At the end of 2021, the number of electric cars on the road exceeded 16.5 million. It is expected that global electric car stock will likely expand to almost 350 million vehicles by 2030, although future growth will hinge on efforts to diversify battery manufacturing and critical mineral supplies to reduce the risk of supply bottlenecks and higher prices. In the future, electric vehicle prices will likely decline to almost half of where they're pricing at today. which will further boost interest in these cars. Electric cars already have a lot of advantages over internal combustion engine vehicles, and this is known to many. Will EVs become the only kind of vehicle we'll get to see in the future? Let's find out. But before we start, if you like this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications to keep up to date on everything going on with Tesla. In response to the expected increase in the demand for electric vehicles, several car companies have set targets for electric vehicle production for the coming years. BMW wants 50% of global sales to be electric before 2030, and German automaker set an interim target of selling 2 million electric vehicles by 2025. Likewise, Ford is planning for half of all vehicles it sells to be electric by 2030. By the end of 2023, Ford wants to produce 600,000 electric vehicles a year, and by 2024, it hopes to manufacture 270,000 Mach-E's a year in North America, Europe, and China. The Tesla competitor plans to produce 150,000 Lightnings in North America and another 150,000 electric transit vans for North America and Europe. It also plans to sell 30,000 units of a yet-to-be-made electric SUV in Europe. Likewise, General Motors is committed to selling only zero-emission cars and trucks by 2035. Coinciding with this trend, sales of conventional cars with internal combustion engines are down by a quarter in the last 5 years. As the environmental impact of gas-powered vehicles versus electric ones plays out, more people may be convinced to purchase an EV. According to a study by Argonne National Laboratory, it was found that maintenance and repair of an electric vehicle's transit bus is 40% less than the cost to maintain an internal combustion engine vehicle of the same size. Likewise, electric vehicles are also more efficient. The average ICE has a fuel efficiency of only 40%, with 60% lost via heat and friction. As a result, internal combustion engine vehicles consume far more energy, traveling the same distance as an electric vehicle. It has been assumed that the growing popularity of EVs makes them more reliable than ICE vehicles due to them having fewer moving parts and less reliance on oil. It takes a lot to make an electric car, and car companies cannot just switch to manufacturing these types of vehicles, as they are a completely different kind of technology. After EV sales jumped to more than 10 million last year, with China accounting for roughly 60% of the market, the record sales figures contained within an IEA global EV outlook for 2023 continued a trend of sustained growth for the industry. The new edition of the IEA's annual Global Electric Vehicle Outlook shows that more than 10 million electric cars were sold worldwide in 2022, and the vehicles are expected to grow by another 35% this year to reach 14 million. This explosive growth means electric cars' share of the overall car market has risen from around 4% in 2020 to 14% in 2022, and is set to increase further to 18% this year, based on the latest IEA projections. The IEA noted that electric vehicles are one of the driving forces in the new global energy economy that is rapidly emerging, and they are bringing about a historic transformation of the car manufacturing industry worldwide. According to the agency, the trends that are witnessed today have significant implications for global oil demand. It stated that the ICE has gone unrivaled for over a century, but electric cars are set to change the status quo. The IEA further stated that cars are just the first wave, as electric buses and trucks will follow soon. It added that electric car sales, including battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, exceeded 10 million last year, up 55% relative to 2021. In its initial report, the IEA stated that this number exceeds the total number of cars sold across the entire EU, and is nearly half of the total number of cars sold in China in 2022. In total, it said more than 26 million electric cars were on the world's roads in 2022, representing a 60% increase relative to 2021. It is expected that once the cost of batteries fall, then the cost of the whole vehicle, buying an electric car and running it, will be cheaper. The price for electricity is also likely to be comparatively cheaper relative to gasoline going forward, as solar and wind have now matured and are becoming much more cheaper than coal. Tesla investor and stock expert Cathie has previously said that the transition automakers are going to have to make is going to be to produce electric vehicles or risk losing out on shares to EV companies. According to Wood, more people will likely key into electric vehicles as the demand for oil is expected to drop into the near future. Wood believes that the electric vehicles market is growing at a tremendous rate, and it is becoming evident that more people will use EVs in the coming years. The Tesla bull also stated that the possible shift to battery-powered automobiles is anticipated to drive the electric vehicle market. According to the ARK Invest CEO, 2022 to 2024 period is said to be one of the most optimistic period for electric vehicle sales, as new electric vehicle models will be launched and government policies globally are becoming more supportive of electric vehicles. Like Cathie Wood, another Tesla bull, Sony Seba, noted that while there is massive adoption of electric cars, not every internal combustion engine maker can manufacture enough electric cars. Manufacturing an electric vehicle will require more than just making electric cars to meet targets. Installing robust and accessible charging infrastructure and reducing the environmental impact of critical mineral extraction for electric vehicle batteries are just some of the issues to make electric vehicle goals become a reality. Tony Seba is a strong believer in technology disruption, the convergence of technologies, as well as the business model innovation. He also believes in organizational capabilities and product innovation that leads to the creation of new industries and societies and the collapse of existing ones. It is anticipated that there will be a huge electric vehicle transition over the coming years, and it is expected that by 2030, EVs will take over the entire automotive industry. Entire fleets of government-owned vehicles with ICE engines will be phased out and will be replaced with 100% all-electric vehicles by 2035 to 2040. All privately owned light-duty vehicles with ICEs will also be phased out and replaced with 100% electric vehicles by 2050. Ambitious policy programs in major economies such as the Fit for 55 package in the European Union and the Inflation Reduction Act in the US are expected to further increase market share for electric vehicles this decade and beyond. By 2030, the average share of electric car sales in total across China, the EU, and the US is set to rise to around 60%. But do you think EVs are here to stay? Let us know down below in the comments section, and if you want to know more about what Tesla's been up to over the last few days, go ahead and click on this next video on your screen. See you there.